So you've come seeking power. You think knowledge is a fortress, don't you? Well, let me give you a piece of advice. Be very careful what you build. Pride, you see, is a silent architect. And it designs the most exquisite prisons. Prisons of the mind, with walls made of pure vanity and bars of self-deceit. Today, we're going to take a look at its blueprint. You feel that, don't you, Acolyte? That ambition, that hunger to be more than you are. It feels like freedom, like a golden chain of command you've earned. But I'm here to show you what it really is. It's not a chain, it's a leash. And believe me, it can get very, very heavy.
To really understand this, we need to examine a specimen, a brilliant demon scholar named Caduceus. Now, he was a lot like you. He wanted to find a shortcut, to use forbidden arts to become a god among men. He's our perfect case study, a soul trapped in a jar of his own making. So pay close attention. This is important.
Our story really kicks off with a wager, a pact. You see, Caduceus thought he could bypass all the hard, humble work of self-discovery by making a deal. And this, right here, this was the exact moment his ambition was handed the very hammer and nails it would use to build his cell.
This deal wasn't struck in some dusty old library, no. It happened in Tartarus itself. And the terms? Deceptively simple. He would trade his own life force, his vitality, for something that Grigori called the spirit of gravity. Basically, the heavy, corrupting knowledge of the material world.
But he wasn't dealing with just any run-of-the-mill demons. No, he contracted specialists in ruin. First up was Samyaza, the master of desire. Then Gadriel, the spirit of negation itself. And to round out the trio, Azazel, the architect of facades. Each of them offered Caduceus a unique and potent poison for his soul.
Samyaza offered him mastery over all earthly desires, the so-called sorcery of the blood. But it was a complete trick. As Samyaza himself explained, the Grigori didn't just fall because of pride. They fell by trading their spiritual nature for the crushing weight of physical wants. So he gave Caduceus an anchor, not wings.
Next up, Gadriel, the spirit of negation. His gift? The arts of war. He turned Caduceus's razor-sharp intellect into a weapon that, of course, he would eventually turn on himself. He used his incredible reason only to engineer his own misery, to act more and more like a cornered beast.
And finally, we have Azazel. The most subtle of the three. He provided the cosmetics of the soul, the tools for profound self-deception. He gave Caduceus a mirror that would only ever show him his curated triumphs, his vanity. And with this, the internal rot was allowed to grow completely unnoticed. Just a masterpiece of corruption, really.
Now, here's the crucial part. You have to understand this. The Grigori weren't after his soul, not in the way you're probably thinking. The contract, signed in blood, it laid out a much more exquisite payment. They wanted to harvest his intellect, his vanity, and his ruined pride. They wanted the very architecture of his arrogance.
And so, that brings us to the architecture of the prison itself. Armed with these gifts, Caduceus became the master builder of his own downfall. He wasn't building a palace of stone. He was meticulously constructing a prison of the mind.
This is what we call the Gilded Prison. And it's not a place you understand. It's a state of being. It's a fortress that you build, brick by brick, with every little lie you tell yourself, every uncomfortable truth you wall away behind some shiny facade of success.
And here it is, the blueprint itself. Just look at the components. First, you have the holy robes to drape your corruption in righteousness. Then, you've got Azazel's mirror, making sure the prisoner never sees his own decay. Add in the leash of ambition, which he thinks is a golden chain of freedom. And it's all built on one single terrifying foundation, an internal hellmouth formed from the gnawing of regret.
Let's be perfectly clear about this hellmouth. We're not talking fire and brimstone here. No, it's the quiet, psychological torment of your own making. It's the ash that's left over when your vitality finally burns out. It's a silent tribunal where your own regrets are the only judges.
So how is a prison like this sustained? Well, through a perverse little system, an economy of corruption. And you could say, this is my area of expertise. I am, after all, its rather cynical overseer.
The vile economy is the internal market that powers the prison. In this marketplace, your soul is basically worthless, easily traded for a bit of status or power. And truth? Oh, truth becomes a luxury you simply cannot afford, because if you bought it, the entire fortress of vanity would come crashing down around you.
My strategy is exquisitely simple. I don't need to punish anyone. I just give them everything they think they want, every desire, every single accolade. Why? Because the cruelest torment of all is to achieve everything only to look down at your hands and realize you are holding absolutely nothing of substance.
So, this leaves you with two paths. You can stay right where you are, in the vile economy, thriving on denial and unearned pride, which, I promise you, ultimately leads to emptiness. Or, you can choose the harder path, the one that demands you confront everything you have so carefully built.
And this brings us to the only escape hatch there is, a philosophy so simple, yet so utterly terrifying to the proud. We call it the logic of zero. It is nothing less than the total demolition of the self-made present.
The logic of zero is the absolute opposite of the scholar's ambition. See, it's not about gaining more, it's about radically letting go. It's about stripping away every title, every achievement, every single mask, until you're left with the profound realization that your simple existence is, and always was, enough.
This process of self-undergoing, it happens in 3 stages. First, you have to cast off the weight, all the status, the ambitions, the manuscripts. Then, you must turn and face the uncomfortable truths you've been hiding from. Only then, and I mean only then, can you achieve true liberation and find the peace you were carrying inside you all along.
This is the final lesson that Caduceus learned, but only after he dismantled his own prison, piece by painful piece. The kingdom he sought to build was never out there. The true home, the only real sanctuary, was the state of peace he had sacrificed in his mad quest for power.
Which, of course, brings us back to you, Acolyte. You've seen the blueprint. You understand the materials. Now, look inward. Look at the fortress you are building for yourself, right now, and ask yourself what rot grows in its foundation. Think very carefully. Your freedom depends on the answer.